All right, let's dive right in here, shall we? I don't know if that's true. Death Cloud sounds really slow and clunky. And like, playing that, you lose one of the big draws to playing green-black, which is like discard spell into Goyf. Like, those decks don't play Goyf, right? Seems pretty good. Bird on 1, voice on 2. Oh no, never mind. Getting discard spelled. Shock myself, pass. Tilt. Ah, I forgot to put full art basics in here. That's sad. Lead on my bird. Have you heard about my bird? I said a bird. Bird's the word. I said a bird. The Death Shadow matchups for these fair green decks is pretty tough. These fair green decks, the creature combo decks seem to have bad Death Shadow matchups, which is sad because they used to have pretty reasonable Jund matchups, but alas, this is not Jund. I'm going to go ahead and play this Voice of Resurgence out before it gets discard spelled out of our hand. I don't know if I believe that that's strictly true, right? Like, so I think Death Cloud's probably kind of anemic against them for the same reason that Fulminator Mage is pretty bad. Like, I'd believe that Death Cloud's like okay against Tron if they don't nut draw you, like have turn 3 Tron, but like the Valakut deck, their deck is like 45 pieces of mana, so like trying to just kill their mana seems pretty terrible. Yeah, the big reason why is that you have so many cards that just like don't have a meaningful impact on the game state on their own. So like between their discard and their spot removal and their stubborn denials, they're able to kind of pick apart your cards that are better. And then unlike the old Jund decks that were playing like 2 mana 4/5s, they're playing 1 mana 8/8s and 9/9s on top of having a combo kill with those cards. So like they're able to set up board states that are less favorable for you and able to punch through faster. All right, so what can I get here? I'm gonna play this Misty Rainforest. I don't think I have any 3s that I care about. I guess I have Reflector Mage. I guess I could just Reflector Mage that and try and run them down. Alternatively, I could Stonehorn Dignitary and try and turn into Archangel of Thune, but that seems a little bit loose, especially because they're going to have Stubby D up starting next turn. So I feel like I just really want to evolution this turn just because I'm not going to get stubbed. This deck technically has a combo in it, Burgle. I'm going to need you to take your lip elsewhere, okay? I guess I could get Eternal Witness and buy back Voice. And then I hit them for 5, and then I die to Battle Rage. I think I'm okay with that, though. I think I'd rather just have more dorks in play. Yeah, I'm really hoping that Tron has results to the Pro Tour and they ban it. Tron just, like, is really good against all the decks that, like, generate really interesting games of Magic. Alright, they're down to 5. They have an 8/8. And, like, this is another reason why you were okay against Jund, but, like, this type of matchup is terrible. Like, I can't even pressure my opponent a lot of the time. Oh, they're just conceding. I mean, you're not even done on board, opponent, and, like, there's definitely better cards in your deck than there are in mine, but sure, I'll take a free win. Get these Path to Exiles. Interplay as a copy of any non-land permanent. That doesn't seem very good. Just cut some of my bad... Detain until your next turn. They can't attack or block. That's kind of cute. That file doesn't exist. Oh, there probably shouldn't be a Yor at the end. Yeah, this looks super clunky. I don't understand why you would want to slow the deck down. Like, one of the appeals of playing a deck like Jeskai Ascendancy is to go faster. So as soon as you start slowing yourself down, your deck just becomes a bad version of something else. Also, there's no reason to have Dryad Arbor in the deck. The fact that it doesn't make any mana other than green is pretty terrible. I guess Loam is kind of cute once you're comboing, but like Failure to Comply seems much worse than Silence. I haven't decided what we're playing after this yet. Put this at the top. Let them know. People know what we're playing. Is there a Cyclonic Rift in my sideboard? Why is there a Cyclonic Rift in my sideboard? Alright, maybe there's going to be a point where we're going to want to board that in. We're going to find out. And we got Venser with Stonehorn Dignitary. They'll never attack again. It's cool. It's cool. I'm going to keep this. I don't mulligan mostly functional hands against decks full of Thoughtseizes. Like, discard spell into removal for the other dork's gonna feel a little bit bad before we strip a second land. Put a mulligan to 6. It's a good start for us. Yeah, this list has some interesting fun ups for sure. We're gonna play the bird out first. Much prefer that one die. I think I'm pretty obligated to fetch Temple Garden here, so that way any other land I draw can cast my white spells. I think in the context of what Modern is, Tron lands are actually the biggest problem. I feel like there's a lot of fair decks that can interact with Blood Moon and Grape Shot decks a lot better than they can interact with Tron lands. And like, one of the things that I find really interesting is whenever you talk about Tron lands probably being too overreaching for Modern, there's always some armchair neckbeard that's like, what Modern really needs, it doesn't need to ban Tron lands. What Modern really needs is we need Wasteland. And like, as someone who's played a lot of Legacy, and I mean a lot of Legacy, like 500 plus sanctioned matches of Legacy in a 2-year span, and like just buckets of Legacy online. Wasteland generates almost as many not interesting games of Magic as Tron lands do. Because like you mulligan and keep a 1-lander, or you keep a 2-lander and get wasted once or twice, just never draw another land and die. Yeah, I like Legacy, and Legacy generates some really interesting games of Magic, but like Wasteland is one of those cards in Legacy that leads to, in fact, we often call it on stream getting Legacied, because sometimes you just get Wastelanded and you die and you don't get to play a game because of it. God, I never want to play a Modern where Burn has Price of Progress. That sounds terrifying. Just utterly terrifying. Far more. Yeah, probably far more than Tron. I think that's probably not unfair to say. There's a lot of Legacy players that just want like Modern to be Legacy light, and I don't think that's where I want life to exist. Correct, yeah. Just like any deck that's not mono basic lands is gonna get branched by Wasteland some amount of the time. So I think Modern R&D hit the nail on the head that just like land destruction isn't a great mechanic and it's not one they should push. But at the same time, they like have this relic, which is Tron lands and Valakuts from a past era, from before we realized that that those things shouldn't be a thing. So like we have to like live with, we know we shouldn't print aggressive land destruction because it makes miserable games, but like we still have these powerful land-based strategies. Yeah, I hate that's another thing like people do in general. It's not just Magic players, it's like that happens outside of Magic too. People will be like, well, the Tron lands aren't as bad as Storm, and they aren't as bad as like Mox Opal Affinity. So like, it's like, well, those things are kind of obnoxious too. So like, don't justify one thing that's obnoxious being okay by saying, well, it's less bad than these other things that are more obnoxious. Like, I'm not a fan of using that logic. I don't think that's a good consistent way. I don't think you're gonna end up with a happy format if you like that's the logic we're applying, where it's just like, well, this thing sucks slightly less than this other thing, so we should keep it. It's like, that doesn't sound great. I think we're gonna die here. And like I said, this hand was a little speculative. I don't know. I like keeping hands like this against decks full of discard. We had a lot of action. We just need to draw some lands. Like, some of your hands need to draw lands, some of your hands need to draw spells. If our first dork hadn't gotten pushed, we'd have been on curve a little bit better, but it did, so we weren't. Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to put it, Edamine. Like, a lot of the obnoxious things that happen are a result of people going, okay, I can't beat turn 3 Karn by playing Tarmogoyfs and fair mid-range creatures, so like I just need to kill them before they turn 3 Karn me. Or I need to be able to kill them when they play turn 3 Karn and take away one of my permanents. Which is why, like, a lot of those other decks end up where they are. I'm just gonna concede because they have a bunch of stuff. And, like, I know I'm not dead on board. So, concessions like this often prompt Twitch chat to go, but you're not dead. And the answer to this question is that I know I'm not dead this turn, but I could stack both players' decks for the remainder of this game and probably lose this game still. So I'm going to concede for the sake of my time and life EV. What's going on, Tom? Good morning. Morning to everyone hanging out in our first match with this Bant core decks. Got some sweet some sweet spicy one-ofs and some Vensers. Yeah, so I almost spit my drink out last night. I was watching Durward stream while I was getting some work done, and he says, I always like to let him put the lethal grape shot on the stack, because then the lowest common denominators that are in chat never ask, why did you concede? Because the lethal grape shot's on the stack, so they understand why we're conceding. And like, if you're playing for top 8 at a Grand Prix, like, or like it's a really important match to you, sure, make him kill you. That's fine. Like, it's whatever. But this is Magic Online, and like there's people watching, and like we could just play another match of Magic after this one is done. Hey, Jenny1 with the brand new Twitch Prime support. Thanks for sending your Amazon fun money this way this month. I really appreciate that. As always, subs are the absolute best way you could support my content here. And Counterspell would be playable in Modern. I don't think it would fix any of the format's problems. Like, a lot of the things that happen in Modern are about being fast and brutal. So, like, Counterspell isn't very good against that fast, brutal decks in Modern. In fact, Counterspell and Wasteland, like when people talk about introducing those cards to the format, those cards are good against the decks that already aren't great. They're good against like these fair mid-range decks that like already struggle to survive and exist in the format. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, against the decks that are quick and brutal, Mana Leak is effectively Counterspell, and it's easier to cast. Counterspell gives decks that would play it better game against decks looking to go long. At least they can't take my nicest toy. I'll miss you, Voice of Resurgence. You are good at little elemental. Oh, they didn't take my voice. That's exciting. That's exciting. I'm so excited, chat. They didn't take my voice. I'm gonna get an Island just in case. Island is your land. Island is my land. Did they fix Wall of Roots? Of course not. This card's still broken. Has it been 2 years yet? Alright, Oath of the Gatewatch. MTGO release date. Alright. As I cast this wall, you want to pick? Okay, here, I'll let you pick. As I cast this Wall of Roots, it has been 2 years and 2 days since they broke Wall of Roots. Oh wait, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was January 22nd, the paper release date. No, which one do you want? Okay, you can play with the remote, sure. Okay, sorry. It hasn't quite been 2 years. January 29th will mark the 2 year. No, wait, it's probably the 27th because the 29th would have been a Friday. Yeah, three days until it's been this card broken for 2 years. All right, I've checked the date. The 22nd was the paper release date. So the bug with Wall of Roots is that you can only activate its mana ability at any time you could use an instant, which means you can't activate it while you're casting a spell, which doesn't sound like a big deal until you put. Okay, I got you, child. I understand. Yeah, babies. All right, so am I casting this Voice of Resurgence this turn, and how am I casting it if so? Oh, my opponent missed a land drop. That's so good for me. Okay, go ahead, play with the remote, child. There's why it matters, chat. For people that are new and don't understand. That's why the Wall of Roots bug matters. That's why the Wall of Roots bug matters. That command's been there a long time. Do not throw that remote.
Up here.
What do you want to watch, Shiny Angry Monster?
Up high. Up high. No, up high. Just.
Okay.
Bye.
All right, down to 6. Down to 5. Snap, Inquisition. They know my last card is Restoration Angel. Into a Delve creature. We please draw an untapped land here. We draw an untapped land, we get to blink Eternal Witness and path their Delve creature, then smash them with Voices of Resurgence. Man, anyone else remember when you used to have to pay 2 mana for a creature of this size? Pepperidge Farm remembers. So I'm gonna no! No! Oh god! Oh god! I didn't want to attack with the birds. I know, Declan. I know. I was gonna Restoration Angel blink whichever one they blocked with the Gurmag. It's probably gonna cost us the game. It's probably gonna cost us the game. Fuck. Now the Restoration Angel's not in play either. That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. Play that just in case I mess up again here. Pass priority. Are they gonna kill my what? Magic Online is just so wild.
No, my pasta.
Oh wait, I can't undo Wall of Roots. Opponent concedes. All right, our mistake didn't matter. They realized they're an idiot. All right, good. All right, 1-0. Death Shadow matchup can't be bad. Hogland just beat it on stream after making a punt. Voice is very good against Death Shadow, turns out. In case anyone was wondering. Declan, do you want your tablet? Okay, I'm gonna go get Declan his tablet so he's slightly less obnoxious to the background. I'll be right back, chat. You want your tablet? Yeah, let me get your tablet. Here you go. Alright, you have to use Jake's. Your mom forgot to plug yours in. It's a hard knock life. Gotta use your brother's tablets instead of your own. Dude, gotta use the substitute on. I'm sorry. I know, it's a hard knock life, Declan. You're basically a tiny orphan child. Have to use your brother's tablets instead of your own. What's going on, Knights? Thanks for the 5-month resubscription. Welcome back. So, dude, I'm sorry you're upset, but your tablet has no battery. I promise you your brother plays videos just as good as yours. You can install the game on your brother's tablet. So it's kind of awkward because Chalice actually isn't even that good against us. We have actually 6 1-drops in our deck, and we've just drawn 3 of them, and we lost the die roll. So like we're just getting completely fucking destroyed by this Chalice of the Void that's normally not good against us. Just completely destroyed. Just actually can't play. I mean, I guess this card probably doesn't have text to this matchup other than a 2/3, so I guess I'll play it. Alright, folks, we don't play games that feel miserable here, so we're gonna move on with our life. Wrath of God. Alright, Negate seems good here. Phyrexian Sage, Acidic Slime seem good here. Our Mana Dorks seem terrible. Phyrexian Revoker's probably fine. They likely have copies of Planeswalkers in their deck. The Cyclonic Rift might be fine too. Any of their cards, this Reflector Mage is pretty bad. This copy's any permanent, right? Yeah, let's get that in here. Hostage Taker's probably not good. Probably don't need these Stonehorn Dignitaries. Bring in this Linvala that they can't interact with. I don't even know if... I think Teeg... I only want Teeg for combo decks. Like, I've got 4 Chord of Callings and 3 Vensers. Like... Oh, I have 61 cards. Alright, I guess Teeg's coming to play. Alright. Oh, Hostage Taker takes Chalice. Deal. In. Forgot about that. That's really cute, actually. That's really cute. This hand can fetch basic lands against the Ponza decks. That's probably fine. Oh, you know what? We got Wall of Roots in our deck. I probably should have cut Wall of Roots before cutting birds. You can watch whatever you want on this channel. If you type !donation decks in chat, you'll see the details on how you can find me play whatever deck you want to see played. Literally just play whatever you want. Of course Wall of Roots is still bugged. Why wouldn't it be? I mean, part of the reason I accept any deck with Wall of Roots in it is because it means the league that we're going to play is free. That's true. With 100 points of democracy, we will stop what we are doing and play it now. I'm gonna play this Venser Chord deck for a little bit. I don't know what we're gonna do after that. I might play some Just Kai Ascendancy. Kinda wanna play that deck some more. Restore Balance is sweet. I actually think so. Like, one of the things I feel like people don't consider often enough is that, like, one of the things having Mox Opal in the format does is Mox Opal existing in the format actually makes tier 2 decks like Restore Balance much worse. Because if decks like Affinity weren't as powerful, people wouldn't play a bunch of sideboard Stony Silences and stuff like that. So it would make decks like Restore Balance more playable because they wouldn't be catching this flack hate from these other decks. I mean, certainly more playable, right? It's a little abrasive opponent. Really like a Braid in Modern and Magic in general. I think it's a very powerful card. Bricking on a 5th mana source and drawing another 5-drop here, just like we drew it up. Yeah, definitely. You can read about what I would do with the ban list on gatheringmagic.com. I love the people that will look you in the eyes and tell you that Splinter Twin and Birthing Pod are too strong for Modern, but in the same breath will tell you that Storm is fine. It's like, Splinter Twin and Birthing Pod are certainly weaker than Storm. They're certainly weaker than the current iterations of Storm. The current iteration of Storm is very, very good. Hey, there's some democracy. Admiral Bots with where's my, I don't know, my Streamlabs up. I gotta read the message. Double Spirit Guide Cast Chandra. Yep, sure, why not? We're gonna need a miracle with this deck. Oh, we have a donation from Blue Light Miracles. With the Riverwise Augur in. All right, donation queue that puts you to plus 13 democracy. Yeah, I actually had to turn Todd Stevens' stream off at that point when he said that. I was watching his stream the day he was like, Modern Storm is fine and Splinter Twin is too hard to play against and less fun to play against. It's like the number of cards that interact with the Splinter Twin combo and the number of cards that interact with Storm, just like the list of them is so much smaller. The list of them is so much smaller. I don't know if I have a completely fair deck in me today. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can lose to Valakuts a bunch more. I've timed this person out for using the word cancer as a negatory, like derogative way. Don't do that. Be respectful to people. It's a very serious disease. Don't use it to describe things in a TCG. It's very rude. So you'll be back in 10 minutes. Don't do that again. Yeah, exactly. Like, so like one of the big things that changed that I realized, like a question that I've had a lot of comments on, like when I was working in the Kiki Chord decks and like these Chord style decks, people are like, why aren't you playing Path to Exile in your main deck? I don't like casting Path to Exile against the Storm decks. Because when you path their mana creature, you ramp them into gifts anyways, and then they can generally kill you without a creature in play a lot of the time, especially when you've given them an extra mana to be able to do so. So, like, my spot removal isn't good in that matchup, and, like, if that's another matchup where my spot removal isn't good, then playing spot removal in my main deck becomes less appealing. And like, if I don't have spot removal in my main deck, then my deck's just being pushed towards being linear, and like, it's like, okay, I guess we just try and go faster. I only timed them out because that's a cultural thing. There's places where people think doing stuff like that's okay, and I'd like to educate rather than just remove them permanently. If they come back and they do it again, they'll be removed permanently, but that's a warn. Let's not do that here. Correct. Yeah, exactly. Also, the thing I really appreciated about Splinter Twin, in addition to being easier to interact with than Storm, is that when I died to Splinter Twin, I knew I was dead. I didn't have to sit there for 3.5 minutes while they clicked or shuffled or counted and all this other stuff, whether on paper or Magic Online, figuring out if I'm actually dead. The worst is when you can look at all the resources your Storm opponent has and they don't realize you're dead, but you know you're dead, so you're like, damn it. So I'm sitting here stewing, wondering if they're smart enough to figure out their deck. I'm gonna play this Restoration Angel so we can kill this stupid Chandra. Link our Wall of Roots to reset the counters on it. Someone commented on our land count, and the thing people do, well, one, Twitch chat is super results oriented, right? Like, that's just like the definition of Twitch chat. People like see us missing our 4th land in this game and they go, man, Hogland, you don't have enough lands in this deck. But like, on top of that just being like a stupid metric, this deck has 8 mana creatures in it, so we effectively have 31 pieces of mana in our deck, which is more than enough for the large curve that we're playing. I'd like to acidic slime one of your 2 lands since you've been missing land drops, opponent. Oh, we're done here? Excellent. Excellent. Alright, do I want to change anything? The Stonehorn Dignitary is actually just stone useless, right? So just like better off having this 3/4 in my deck. You have the word in your name, why don't you play more of them? This hand's okay. We're gonna get Blood Mooned and just cry ourselves silently to sleep, but this is my bed, I'm gonna lie down in it. So, this is my favorite. Okay, time for Magic story time with Jeff Hogland. I'm watching my buddy play in a Modern Classic when Twin was legal. And he's playing, what he's playing is irrelevant. At any rate, his Splinter Twin opponent end steps Deceiver Exarch, diddles my buddy's only land, and like untaps and plays Splinter Twin. And Magic's fun. Modern's a format about interacting with your opponents, and it definitely doesn't have non-games where one player just gets run out by something like Blood Moon. That's not true. That would be disingenuous to say that. All right. Did they just GG me? I didn't. I'm glad I left before I saw what their message was. Modern's so dumb sometimes. Anywho, my buddy's playing against Splinter Twin, and his opponent assembles the combo. They go end step Exarch, diddle your only land so you can't interact with me, untap, put Splinter Twin on my creature. And as his opponent, my buddy's like, Splinter Twin resolves, and his opponent looks at my friend, and he goes, all right, so the next game, and my buddy goes, well, what are you doing? And the guy looks really confused, and he goes, well, no, you lose the game when I put Splinter Twin on my Deceiver Exarch. And the guy goes, well, no, how do I lose the game? What are you doing? And his opponent just had no idea how their combo worked. And they just continued playing a normal game of Magic, like the opponent couldn't read their own cards and figure it out. They just continued playing a game of Magic that my buddy ended up winning. It was just like the most fucking glorious thing I have ever seen. So, well, what are you doing? Apparently the kid had like borrowed the deck from someone, and just like his friend had just told him, when you put Splinter Twin on Deceiver Exarch, they concede. And he was like, okay, sure. Just like when I put Splinter Twin on Deceiver Exarch, my opponents concede because they lose the game. it was so good. I feel like telling stories while we lose to Dredge. Do we want me to concede, or do you want me to keep playing and tell another story? Because I have a couple more good Magic stories we could share. Because there's a lot of good people don't know how their cards works and then they lose. It's so good. More stories? All right, so we're 10 out of 10 dead to Dredge here, but we're gonna tell more stories to burn some clock here. Why not both? I could do both. Yeah, that's super true. Let's concede. We're dead. We're not winning this game by any stretch of the imagination. Let's sideboard and shuffle up, and then we'll do another. We'll tell another story. We'll tell another story. Just we could title it the Dogland watches idiots play Magic story. All right, what do we want against Teeg? Stops Conflagrate, which is great. Negate stops Conflagrate. Stonehorn Dignitary is probably fine. Hostage Taker's probably slow. What do I not want? I don't need a Pridemage here. I probably don't need Reflector Mage. More 61 cards. I'm gonna leave Venser. All right, so second bit of story time. So I'm watching Ad Nauseam versus Splinter Twin. This is when I was playing a ton of Modern, because when Splinter Twin was legal in Modern, it was my favorite format. My favorite Modern format of all time. Never played Splinter Twin, but I enjoyed the games of Magic that it generated. Anywho, story time. Watching Ad Nauseam play against Splinter Twin. Splinter Twin opponent has pretty mediocre draws, and game one, the Ad Nauseam player combos him out, and the Ad Nauseam player picks up their deck. They're like, all right, pitch my Simian Spirit Guides, cast Lightning Storm targeting you, any responses? The Splinter Twin player goes, no responses, take 3, you lose the game. And the Ad Nauseam player is just floored, right? Like, they're like, that's not how my combo works. I cast Lightning Storm and you die. So the Splinter Twin player calls the judge over, or it calls the judge over and explains to a Knight 666 with the $5 donation. More stories equal more democracy. All right, sure, sounds good. So anywho, Splinter Twin player calls the judge over and explains to their opponent why they've lost the game, like why they've explicitly passed priority while they cast their Lightning Storm. So that means their Lightning Storm resolves. So the Ad Nauseam player accepts that they have messed up. They were very adult about it. And they're like, okay, I'm gonna do this. They're gonna do it again. So Ad Nauseam player's on the play and has like a nut straw, like combo kills on turn 4. And before the Splinter Twin player, and like has Pact of Negation for the Splinter Twin player's Dispel, was a very gross draw. So the Ad Nauseam player draws their entire deck with Ad Nauseam again. And they call the same judge over. They go, Judge, I messed this up last time. Can you just make sure? Can I just ask you that I'm saying the right thing, so I don't mess this up again? And the judge says, sure, you can ask me any questions that you want about how the rules of Magic work. So the Ad Nauseam player goes, okay, I draw my deck with Ad Nauseam. I cast Lightning Storm targeting you. I'm gonna hold priority. Any responses? And the Splinter Twin player just bursts out into this biggest smile. He's like, no, take 3. And the Ad Nauseam player's like, no, but I said I'm holding priority. And then the judge had to go through and explain to them that they had said hold priority, but then the act of asking for any responses is explicitly passing priority. And it's just like, and this was, the funnier part was, this was round 2 of this classic, and these players were 1-0. So this Ad Nauseam player had beat their previous opponent, having no idea how their deck works. I assume they had just conceded to their opponent's combo. Just like, yeah, it was a good one. It was just, Magic's a tough game sometimes. Tough game. Gotta understand the rules occasionally. I mean, like, that's not really even about rules enforcement level. That's just like not knowing how your combo works. How do you word it? So the correct way to cast Ad Nauseam, and you win with it, is actually, if you've seen us play the Land Nauseam deck on stream, it's what happens with that deck when you go off with Lightning Storm. You have to cast your Lightning Storm, retain priority, and you don't say any responses, because when you ask your opponent for responses, that's you passing priority to your opponent. So what you need to do is you need to... Oh, this is going to let them kill this with Dark Blast. That's probably fine. What you need to do is you need to say, okay, cast Lightning Storm. I'm going to hold priority and discard these lands to put charge counters on my Lightning Storm. Like that's what you have to do. You got to say it. You got to say it like that. All right, they hit Bloodghast and Prized Amalgam on that dredge, so we're probably pretty deadzo here. We're gonna take 6. I guess I get to Restoration Angel plus have Voice back as a blocker next turn, but things are not looking good for our hero here. They're not looking good for the home team. I actually have, if you like fun Magic stories, Magic the Savaging. I believe I wrote a blog post at one point. Yeah, this is actually, wow, this is really old at this point. There are some great, some of these, the players are technically, I think there was one that the player was technically cheating. Which one was it? The 7-mana Titan and the Not So Humble Thalia are against the rules with the current set. I don't know if they were against the rules at the time, but according to the current Magic the Gathering rules, you have to announce when you're floating mana. But the rest of those stories are still legal and they're fantastic. Yeah, you have to announce that you're holding priority because it is an accepted shortcut that every time you cast a spell in Magic, if you don't explicitly state that you're holding priority, you are passing priority. That is an accepted shortcut. It's actually a shortcut on Magic Online too. It's why if you cast a spell on Magic Online and you want to retain priority, you have to hold your control key. Because they've passed that shortcut onto Magic Online. All right, 1 and 2, getting clunked out here, getting blood mooned and dredged out of matches of Magic. Thanks everyone for hanging out here today. We're gonna play some more Modern after this. I don't know what we're gonna play just yet, but it's gonna be some more Modern. Seems decent. Yo, God, I don't even want to get into the Kent thing. That's not getting someone. That's just, that whole thing was a hot mess. The Click Myself is a fantastic classic. Well, you don't pitch all of your lands, Frenzied Mage. You pitch some of your lands. Can we hear more stories about people not knowing how their combo works? Triggers giving, yep, on the paper stream. I remember that. That was good shit. All right. I actually had the Modern Classic that I won in Baltimore forever ago. The Ad Nauseam player in the top 8 had to cast Spoils of the Vault to go off, and they exiled enough lands out of their deck with Spoils of the Vault that when they comboed, I had enough lands in my hand to redirect the Lightning Storm back to kill them. Yeah, like, had to discard enough, and then, like, I had 2 lands, I think, and they only had 1 left over once they had enough to lethal me. Like, worst mistake, as in, like, someone punting? Could be a Grixis mid-range deck, probably another Shadow deck. There should be a 1080 option. Oh, weird. There's not. That's so wild. Why isn't there a 1080 option? Must be a Twitch issue. What's going on, Apprentice? Don't feel bad for them. They have no idea how Magic works, and they ran hot enough to top 4 or top 8 a Grand Prix. Like, if you didn't know how Magic worked and you top 8 at a Grand Prix, no one should feel sorry for you. Is my Magic Online locked up? Oh, my Magic Online is locked up. I was like, are we just waiting for this fetch land? Nope. Weird. That's really early for a Moto Dirt Nap. All right. Let's kill it. Let's visit the dark side of the moon here, and let's reload. It's like, did their internet die or something? Nope. My Magic Online. Let's go sponsor screen for half a second here while I log back in. No, I don't think so, Apprentice. We'll see. We're almost done, right? We're like three matches in already. I am taking a Hex hiatus until they give us a reason to play Immortal or until they correct their heinous mistake that they made with Standard. I am not enjoying Hex's current Standard format with their champion changes, which is really sad because their format pre-champion changes was like one of the best constructed formats I'd ever played, and it's really kind of an interesting case study in how delicate TCG formats are, that they like changed this one thing and it royally fucked all of it. And like Immortal seems really sweet, but we don't have any queues to play Immortal in for prizes, so don't really have a reason to play that. They rebalanced the Haraza champion to remove the +1 attack from its burning banner, which made the tempo deck unplayable, which in turn made the candles and momentum aggro decks unplayable, which has left the format this wasteland of greedy control mid-range discard mind rot clusterfuck. It's really bad. It was really interesting, like, because like it's neat. It really shows like the complexity of how game design works, because like they kicked the legs out from underneath one deck, and then like it had this domino effect that led from like this format that had like 7 competitive decks that were all arguably tier 1, like all of them had like very small amount of results, into like suddenly there's only like 2 archetypes that you can play now competitively. I'm not blocking, because if they have Team or Battle Rage, they get to kill Venser regardless. Oh, that's a reason to block. I hate this card so much. I hate this card so much. The ladder's probably still fine, Yoshi, but like I'm not interested in playing ladder matches. I'm interested in like testing and like being able to play in the bash tournaments, and and the Bash tournaments, the 6/1 or better decks were all mono, blood, and diamond sapphire control last week. No, the ramp decks aren't very good. The ramp decks aren't stellar against the things that are doing well. I would ban Street Wraith because I think it's a shit card that like doesn't add value to the format and like only goes into like these kind of obnoxious things. There's no, so like when they designed Street Wraith, the idea was that you got to play a 56 card deck, but paying 2 life is a drawback. In Death Shadow, you get to play a 56 card deck, and we're dead to Teamer Battle Rage here, but that's fine. In Death Shadow, you get to play a 56 card deck, and it's upside. That's the problem. That's the problem. Burgle had a very good article on Battle Shopper talking about how the format changed. Yep. Yep. And like this card makes Delve creatures obnoxiously better for no reason. It makes Death Shadow super powered for no reason. It just like it doesn't really add value to the format in terms of like a fair, reasonable, this card's doing like good game design style things. Like, I think a lot of what Death Shadow's doing is fine. I just feel like this gives it, like, that extra push of consistency and, like, aggression that it just doesn't really need. Alright, we're done here. And I think Death Shadow's, like, still a playable deck without Street Wraith. It's just, like, worse, right? Which is, like, probably a fine spot for it to be in. Like, playable, but not as obnoxious as it is now. All right, Hostage Taker is good. This is good. Am I just cutting some mana? Yeah, I think I'm just cutting some mana here. I think I want these other cards. I mean, like, cards that allow you to cheat on resources are, like, typically the ones that are best, right? I don't know what Treason of Soger, I don't know what the text box on Treason of Soger does. Yeah, the Hollowed One deck. Yeah, it's fine there. Yeah, they were an actual aggro deck. No one, like, paraded them around as this fair deck. No, Death Shadow's always been like a fringe card in Modern. The problem, and like, so like people talk about like Modern not being explored. It's like Death Shadow does leverage a lot of cards that are like moderately recent, right? Like Fatal Push and Stubborn Denial. Apprentice of Bolas, here are some cupcakes for Curlydactyl. Put them towards Spanish Inquisition. And I am totally into SI some people after this. Well, SI next, in fact, Apprentice. Thank you for the cupcake bakes. I appreciate it. Even Stubborn Denial is like only 2014 or 2015, right? Like that's still not like, that's recent-ish in terms of like non-rotating formats. would like to keep and scry land to the top. All right, bottom that one. Play some draw fours. It's a turn one legacy combo deck. It's a turn one legacy combo deck. Hey, I think that Bant Nightfall deck we played is great. We actually had a donation to run it back, and we're definitely gonna play it later again this week. I don't know which day, so I'm not gonna commit to that, but we're definitely gonna play more Nightfall this week. That deck felt really powerful. Gosh, so lucky, drew a land. That's not strictly true, right? Like, you've installed all these games on your brother's tablet. Am I gonna have to uninstall some of these? I don't think your brother's tablet has enough memory to hold all of these games, Declan. No. Yeah, push is just a good modern card. I agree. Very, very good card. It's a kid's tablet explicitly designed for them. It doesn't have purchases. Bits for Nerd Slag with SI. Hey, Amped Phil. Thanks a lot and welcome. I appreciate that. Grab a... Is there not a Hallowed Fountain in this deck? God, I need to vet the mana bases in these decks better. How is there not a Hallowed Fountain in this deck? How is there not a Hallowed Fountain in this deck? Yeah, I think this league's been a good... Dude, you want to sit in my lap? You gotta wait for your game to install. You gotta wait for it to install, dude. You gotta wait for the game to install. Look, Marty, I think about it, and then they throw more money at me, and I forget. I just play whatever people pay me to play. Yeah, see, it's out of space, because you tried to install too many things. This is, I'm going to say this is your mother's fault, because she didn't charge your actual tablet. There you go. There you go. Can you play one of the games you already have installed, please, instead of trying to install more? Is it Staticaster? All right, we're done. We're so dead and off it. All right, so 1-3. Let's talk about why these decks aren't good. So this deck explicitly, these. So, those of you that have been following my green creature decks for a little while, you know that I'm going to take this away from you if you keep throwing a fit. Go sit down over there. Alright, so this deck, what Venser does is it takes the problem that these Chord decks have and it magnifies it. It takes we have too many clunky cards and not enough action, and this is a card that generates no action on its own. This is a card that is not individually powerful. It actually does stone nothing without other cards in play, which just makes the decks that are trying to one-for-one us and pick us apart, those decks are much better against this deck because our cards aren't individually powerful. We technically have a combo in this deck with Spike Feeder and Archangel of Thune, but that's slow and clunky and hard to get to. It's just not. I'm not a fan of these non-Lotus Cobra Chord decks, and I feel like this adding Venser to it took the problems that these non-Lotus Cobra Chord decks have, and it just magnified them like tenfold. Let's get rid of that one. All right, so. All right.